Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It is wonderful to have this conversation today in the 10th year of India at 75's National Volunteering Week. CII started with India at 75 initiative on the occasion of India at 60 in 2007. And we have certainly come a long way because we are in the 75th year of our independence. And one of the key pillars of our work at India at 75 has been in engaging citizens from all walks of life, whether young, old, male, female, working, not working, in the act of nation building, counting themselves in. And a big part of that is the act of volunteering. Not that India has not seen volunteering before. India has had a long tradition of giving time, giving resources to society for a very, very long time. But what the modern day framework of volunteering brings is the use of technology, use of better matching of resources with what is the demand in the social sector. And I am glad to be joined by four amazing experts and trailblazers, if you will, in the field of volunteering. I have Shalina Mia with me. She's the regional manager for Asia Pacific UN Volunteers. Shalina has had a great career looking at connecting organizations into volunteering programs in the United Nations program over the years. She's now based in Bangkok, but has worked in Dhaka as well as before that in Bonn. I also have with me K. Sesha Aditya, Head of Corporate Volunteering and Fundraising at Youth for Seva, which also, by the way, is in its 10th year of volunteering and organizational engagement with young in nation building. I have with me Abhishek Ranjan, Director of Sustainability at Brilio, a Bain Capital company, which has, by the way, done significant work in intertwining corporate social responsibility with volunteering programs and aims at helping 100,000 plus underserved children. And last but not the least, Shankara Mahalingam, who's the global lead CSR and employee volunteering at First Source Solutions Limited, joining us today, who has led the work internally at First Source Solutions and also founded an NGO in taking volunteering ahead. I'm going to first come to you, Shalina, because you have seen this at a larger systemic level across the world. And, we see a lot of work also now with, Fridays for Climate and a lot of other work where the young today want to exercise their agency. They want to contribute. And our job is to institutionalize and capture that better. What opportunities you have seen in engaging the young people across the world today in volunteering? What could countries do better in structuring their national volunteering programs? And also at subnational levels, what could states do? So I know it's a loaded question, but you'll do justice to it. Over to you, Shalina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And it's an honor to be here today to discuss with you the importance of volunteerism and also how can youth, the youngsters, contribute. But I would like to remind everyone that at the outset, volunteerism has no age, no race, no gender. It's really for everyone. It's something that anyone can do at any time in their life for an hour, a day, a month, a year, or how much time you have to give. But how can we leverage the power of volunteering to fill gaps for the youngsters? I think that India is really a country with the youth bulge. It's really the highest number of young in the world. And as volunteerism is really a vehicle for sustainable development. India is home to a fifth of the world's youth population. Therefore, it is simply not possible to attain the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, or the Agenda 2030, as we name it, without engaging the youth at all stages, at all levels, and always. And I think volunteerism really gives them a platform to find this conduit, to be part of the society, because we know that unemployment is also a reality that many youngs, unfortunately, are facing, especially exacerbated with the COVID-19 pandemic. And we believe in the United Nations Volunteers Program that volunteerism can be one of these other ways for them to contribute to the society and have that sense of belonging, that sense of being part of the society as well. So their contribution to improve the lives of people and the health of the planet is imperative. This year marks the midpoint of the implementation of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which was launched in 2016, and that aims to build a world where no one is left behind, where we don't see inequalities, where we don't have poverty, where we respect our planet, and we live in peace, prosperity, and with forging partnerships. We can bring hope to blossom in our environmental and communities as we take action for change, reaching out to those who are vulnerable. And it is the young people, above all, who are capable of rising to this challenge, we believe. And for this, we really need, as the Sustainable Development Goal 17 says, partnerships among all stakeholders in the society. And I think your panel is also a reflection of the spirit of partnerships, because we have people from different walks of life. And we at the United Nations Volunteers Program, we really work with all stakeholders, of course, the governments, because we are an intergovernmental agency. We work with the civil society, with VIOs, with private sector, and with all other stakeholders to ensure that we really go to that last mile and we go in those areas where we have the furthest left behind. And there we believe that the youngsters are really a critical element of the puzzle to achieve the SDGs. Because when we say 2030, it's really the beginning of their adult life, 2030. So they have to be an agent, they are agent of change, but they have to be at the driver's seat. And this is what the United Nations Volunteers promotes. We have the Youth Volunteer Program, and within that, we also have the category of University Volunteer Program. So you can actually start volunteering as early as when you are during your university bachelor program. And this is where we believe that the young people can have their voice, can also be that bridge to work with the national, state, and local level, but also we believe in the South-South cooperation, the triangular cooperation, so North, South, East, West cooperation, where people can actually interchange their ideas. And we believe that youngsters of today's, because of the digital technology available to them, they actually have access to information from everywhere, and they can choose what they do with that information. Information is really key, and they can use it in order to advance those goals that are important to them, in order for them to have a society that they want to see flourish for them. So this is, maybe I will start with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalina. I think you've laid the landscape so well, and it's very clear what could be done. But, I'm going to come to you, Aditya, and Youth for Seva. And, the purpose of starting an organization that, like Shalina said, 1/5 of the world's young people live in India. So that could have been the purpose to start. But in the journey, you must have learned so much. What engages young people, what disengages young people, what encourages them. So do share with us, what have you learned, and what does it take to engage young people from the world's youngest country and, the largest democracy in the act of social and national building?
Very well. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, CIA team. And Shalina, I must say that you laid the context rather well, and also have given us enough keywords and firepower to talk further, right? So having said that, we are at great time, and it's such a great time to be a young person, right? Imagine somebody who was born at the turn of the millennium will probably take the driver's seat going forward. That's quite exciting idea in itself. And we also exist for one basic reason, that there are a lot of young people who want to volunteer, who want to just go ahead and give back to the society, but they don't quite know what to do, when to do, where to do, how to do. And even if they were to do, what is the starting point, right? And then even if I start, will I be successful or not? So keeping these things in mind, a lot of people tend to take the back seat. But we thought, no, let's give them a platform where they can go and express themselves and perform. Because these ideas, this creativity is something that this country actually needs. And YFS as a platform is there to guide them, mentor them, create opportunities so that they can actually go out and give back. Yes, while I see that there is fair enough of engagement from the youth, but what disengages them is a very trivial or rather silly point, I would say, because they are probably expecting that once you start volunteering, the change should happen tomorrow, right? Which is not possible because in a social context, when somebody is giving time, then it takes some time for the change to actually see. And when you talk about impact, then it is all the more time, right? So I would say that, I mean, we are currently realizing this, and youth are also learning that, yes, we'll give it some more time before we actually see the impact, right? Otherwise, the energy is there, the brilliance is there, the ideas are there for a lot of things, right? So I'm seeing that there are a lot of solutions that young people have developed. For example, it could be climate action, it could be education, it could be social inequity, and so on. But then they need to be scaled up. So this is the right time, I think, that we need to scale up things. And we've also had one example in pandemic times where a lot of people came together and devised solutions and scaled it up, right? We know that the pandemic relief system or the response system was led and was forefronted by the youth. There is no denying that, right? So this is an example. And now that we are a tech giant, right? We took about 20 years to get there, but we are already a tech giant. So this giant will now take the leap. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya, for actually just giving us a peek, but also getting everyone interested as to what is possible. And I'm going to come to you, Abhishek, because in 2021, Abhishek, you were awarded the CSR Person of the Year award, and so our congratulations for that. But you have seen the role of corporate social responsibility and also the role of corporate volunteering, and there are a lot of commonalities, but also there are distinct differences. Could you throw some light around how does volunteering sit inside the larger gambit of corporate social responsibility, and what can companies do to have greater alignment between the two?
Sure. Thank you, Bhargavi, and thank you, the co-panel, for sharing light on this such an important topic. And especially, it's a 10th year celebration, so it's a quite an accomplishment for India at 75 at CII. Bhargavi, if you allow me to just digress for 2 minutes and talk about my personal journey and experiences in volunteering. To give you an example, right? So when I was 17 years old, I was young that time, and as we're talking about young people, I think some point of time we all were very young. And that time the volunteering, right? So I come from a small town, and when I joined 17, something called Rotaract Club, which is a part of Rotary. The people perception about volunteering and volunteers, the perception of the society, and I would say a large extent of the fear of the parents also were that why these guys are doing volunteering. And generally there's a perception about that, that people, I mean, there's young kids who doesn't want to study, they don't have, ambition to do something well in life. They are the one who are volunteering. And that societal pressure comes to your family pressure, where you as a parent also started thinking like that, right? And we have gone through a lot of this, and obviously we were not like going to kind of just buy that, but change the status quo. Now shift to my my IMT days where I was doing my postgraduate, and when we look at when this is something like I'm shifting from 97 to let's say 2002. A gap of 15 years, right? A gap of 5 to 6 years. What I saw that, then the volunteering little bit evolved, more of a blood donation, more of donating some old clothes, toys, etc., right? And when I go back to the same college today, because I teach there, I see a humongous change, for a month, people go to volunteering. There is a significant, scoring, grades, etc. Plus, there's a whole push about being more volunteer, and I'm seeing it with my kids. Earlier just their primary schools, they are now asked to do volunteering, and we are very supportive about it. So I just wanted to kind of quickly share how the transition happened. Now, if I come to the question which Bhargavi asked us about how companies actually ingrain into the overall CSR narrative, right? I think most of this, when we looked at it, right, when we are an 8-year-old company, and for us, CSR was not an afterthought, it was started in the very first year. And for us, it was more about building a responsible culture, not a charity. What this statement actually qualifies. There are two powerful things we thought about it. One, that volunteering cannot be event-based. Volunteering is not about just donating something. It has to be a culture where it's like everybody in the company start believing in it, and it has to have a measurable impact. Now, these are the large goals anybody can take, but how it kind of actually trickles down to the on ground executions, right? The first thing first is being authentic. If the leadership team of the company is authentic, then I think the message goes very powerful. What it means that the topmost leader of the company and the whole leadership team actually demonstrate it, right? When they do it again and again and it is really shows and it's create a trust among the employee rather than just talking about in few town halls and meeting, right? So leadership has to take a mantle of doing volunteering themselves again and again, and that's how the trust and the respect builds. The second point is also that how you're very strategic. Now, volunteering and social problem, we have 17 SDGs and so many societal issues. Can we solve all of them, right? Also, if you look at, we are 5 or 6 of us on this group, on this call, each one of us probably, are different lineage to a different problems, right? I mean, maybe I'm very concerned about children, somebody will be very concerned about animals and so about the environment. But is it something, everything you can take? The question is no. So how do you be strategic and start saying no and focus? So these were the second aspect we looked at. The third aspect was that, it is not just about how the volunteering was done in the past. How do you reinvent? How do you reinvent, rewire based on what your employees want? Probably I come from a tech industry where my average workforce age would be less than 30, right? And a majority of people have just passed out of engineering college, management college. They probably want to do something going back and, they're just fresh out of college, then they still remember a lot of this, which they can teach back, right? So depending upon your organizational strength, the people around you, you have to take, reinvent, not that what we had in the past. For us, it was easy because we started only 8 years back, so there wasn't much baggage around it, right? The third and fourth aspect of this is that there are 3 types of volunteers, right? And you will probably agree. And we have to respect all of them, right? It starts from, tourists, right? The people who goes to probably first few times, take some pictures that they are, want to kind of talk about it, show it more. And then you have travelers and then the guides, right? And that's how we evolve as, when we go to same cities again and again, try to explore more during our travels. So that's the culture we have to, but we have to be respectful for all of them, because these tourists today will become traveler and guide of the future. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. And if you're looking at someone who has never done a volunteering, you can't really put them into a traveler or a guide. But a person who has done volunteering for 6 years, if you put them in a tourist bucket, probably that won't work, because that person has their own ideas and how he wants to co-create or probably create of his own event, right? And if we look at all of this, what is a driving force for a volunteer? There are 3 driving forces, which in my opinion, the first is the passion, right? A lot of people will come to you with a lot of passion. Like, hey, Abhishek, can I do like 10 hours volunteering in a week? Initially, I just, hear it. I said, okay, sure. You wanted to try it for a few weeks. How does passion convert into a purpose? That is the role of the volunteering team, CSR teams within the companies, because, right? Because they also have a day job. They have a lot of other responsibility. And we have to be also ensuring that while this passion convert into, purpose, it should also add some professional value, professional development values for that employee. Could be communication, could be teamwork, could be, learning some new skills, right? So how do we make it a win-win for both beneficiaries and the volunteers? That will make it a longer lasting, impact, as well as, the collaboration. Now, I just sum up with 4 or 5 things which we do, right? So once the employee any new employee joins us in our company, they go through a volunteering orientation program. We call it a Bringing Smiles, which is our CSR program name and a volunteering program name. And each one of them goes through it. Each volunteer, each new joinees are given action cards. There are 6 action cards we follow. And these action cards have primarily learn, then we have create your own, raise funds, raise your voice, random act of responsibility, and likewise. So there are 6 different cards, and we don't actually tell them what you should be doing. So there is no presentation before this whole exercise is done. And we actually we capture the essence right from them, that what they want to do. And then the whole program is built up, right? So this is how it is. And then if you integrate CSR program into your volunteering program, what it actually, the magic it does, and we always, our all CSR programs integrated to our volunteering program. We do not do either volunteering separate or CSR separate. What it helps, there are a couple of benefits. One, you will have a real-time SROI, or the social impacts happening. Your employees are going, they're seeing how it is working. It's puts a lot of checks and balance with our nonprofit partner. Second, it's doubles of effort and the trust it builds from your benefit in your community beneficiaries, because they don't look at you as just a funder, right? Because the culture is, most of the time when we go, people also look at like in ke paas paisa hoga, and they just come here to give some money. But when you spend time, that's where your trust build. And somebody talked about COVID. I think in COVID, April 2020, we were able to do online classes for government schools with 3,000 students and over 2,500 teachers right in April 2020, when a lot of private schools took many months to kind of even start their online classes. How it happened? Just because of the trust and relationship we build. Now, these are the basic things, right? It will double, it will actually be a force multiplier for your CSR project. And also it will make your employees believe and see that what you're doing for community, which otherwise will not happen, right? So these are the few things I would like to share. And if there is any follow-up questions, happy to take.
Thank you, Abhishek, thank you, because you laid a context also with your own personal experience, which I think is very, very important and very useful and insightful, I'm sure, for everybody else who's also watching. But Shankar, coming to you, precisely what Abhishek mentioned, right? That there is a lot of passion and it comes from an emotional place of wanting to give, wanting to contribute. And how does one capture all that energy, especially at the receiving end, in let's say an NGO, right, or a civil society construct, which is receiving all these energy? One is, of course, corporates, and that's one part where there is a method available to organize it, and you have your own experience also. But sometimes this volunteering help does not come from an organized place. It's a whole bunch of volunteers who turn up. How do NGOs also organize themselves? And you have both side experience, so it would be really interesting to understand what have you seen work out there?
Thank you so much. Before I start, my wishes to the entire India at 75 team for completing 10 years, and I'm mostly part of them since last 9 years. I think I'm submitting data in the previous organization and this organization. So a very good question. Before I start out, maybe I come to Shalina's and Shesha's point on how the youth are changing the purview of volunteering in India. So I was part of the panel selecting the top volunteers for UNV in 2021. It was mind-blowing for me. For example, I never thought that such ideas such ideas during a difficult pandemic time can be conceptualized. So those passion, if you see, they overcome everything. A class 10 girl has created a complete content to teach English to a rural and semi-urban students through WhatsApp. And she is sending that contents on a regular basis, and it is developed into an app. So how beautiful the idea was. So my most important point is the grassroots movement. That is very important. When I say grassroots movement, it cannot be conceptualized as a national campaign or something. We have forums like UNV to promote that. But the movement need to start grassroots. Means if, for example, someone started something because, for example, why I started volunteering? Because I saw some challenges. When I was serving in force and went to a village, I saw a powerless village. The village don't have electricity, grid connection. People are staying in darkness for more than 70 years. How I can do something for them? So that spark start creating in all of us, right? When we see someone, I get something like in my WhatsApp, like I saw a family along with the children in the road. Can you do something for them? Because the employee saw that when she was traveling, and she wanted to do some purposeful, and she wants someone to get connected. So when the query came to me, we went to the NGO, to the expert person who's working on the child welfare. So when he took it, he had a conversation, we all met. And now the children are in a safe house. They're studying in a good school for the last 5 years. So this happens because of that spark. So the capturing of the passion, we need to be very open, especially in terms of listening, or because certain queries will come in the wee hours. We need to be ensure that the passion is responded, or at least we make them aware that, okay, we are there for you. So that is the most important aspect we see from the NGOs, the non-profits. What they do. Typically, we go with lots of, now today, my team has gone to a couple of NGOs with lots of queries or requests, because they have received some requests from our employees. So they have to be very ready, and that is what is happening. So we should definitely thank our non-profit sector in India, because they are making a huge change, and they are ready for experiments. I can very well see. For example, I told them, see, I will not be giving you money. I'm going to give you people. Let me know how you can use it. So they told, okay, I want to do a helpline. So we tied up with the NGO, and we supported the Right to Education Act of the government, because they want resources who can give a continuous call to identified parents and tell about this initiative. See, if we have a focused approach on this, we reached out to 5,000 parents. And from the 5,000 parents, we identified 3,700 children who are qualified to be put up in the RT Act-based school admission, free admission. And after we did that, this year, that NGO has increased their admission by 50% through their initiative because of our support. 774 students got that admission. If you see, the economic value which we generated is around, for until the students complete the 12th standard, it goes to around 18 crores. So it's a huge economic factor which we are giving to them. So in my view, our non-profit sectors are already very ready in terms of capturing the passion and energy, and they're waiting for us. And now the work of our corporate sector as well as government, I'm seeing, like recently I attended a program in Karnataka where the Chief Minister hosted that program. So they invited all the important stakeholders, and they gave this to non-profits to organize this. They didn't organize themselves. So it shows that this is changing across the, especially across India. It is changing, actually. That is my view.
Thank you so much. I'm going to come back to you, Aditya, taking from what Shankar kind of said about that there is a lot of demand to volunteer, right? But you must be seeing the difference between, is this interest purely an urban phenomena, or do you also see young people from rural and semi-urban areas also? What's been your experience on that front? You're on mute, Aditya.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. No, definitely, I don't think this is an urban phenomena. Right, there is as much interest in rural youth to volunteer as much as urban volunteers are. In fact, I would say that in our experience, we have successfully set up chapters across 12 states in this country, 33 chapters to be precise, and then most of them are like tier 3 or tier 4 towns, as you might call it. And we are also present in urban centers like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, which is all right. But then other towns where we see a lot of activities are like Vizag, Indore, Bhopal, Uttarakhand, Mysore, and elsewhere, where college students are volunteering. I mean, there is a lot of interest in college students to come out and then do something. They, as somebody just pointed out, that somebody wants to create a content in English for the rural student. I mean, there are a lot of people who want to do such things, not only limited to education, but also healthcare. Could also be planting, thousands of trees and so on, right? And this trend is growing, by the way. And somebody also pointed out that we should also institutionalize volunteering. And looks like government is also taking proactive measures these days. What with the National Education Program, the NEP policy and the AICTE, they say now that they want to mandate college students to actually volunteer and credit some hours, right? So this will actually create, millions of volunteering hours that we should engage with. And this is a challenge that we should, collectively overcome in terms of how do you create opportunities and engage young students fruitfully across the country, not only urban, but also rural and elsewhere.
Right. Coming to you, Abhishek, something that obviously this aspect, right, that you mentioned that it's always good also that in the corporate volunteers profile, that there should be something adding back to their career. And, Aditya mentioned how it's going to get included now in policy for students to get credit about it. And so there is a little bit of a tension here that I see, right? So there is, in the act of volunteering, the selfless act of giving, which is, the power of community, that you work together to build something up, the kind of example you gave of COVID, for example. At the same time, there is a need for personal passion, personal expression, and personal growth also to be there. In an age where there is a lot of lot of focus on self promotion, the platforms are such, the young are kind of living in a world where the self identity is very, very important. How do you see we balance this, right? The selfless act of giving, at the same time, the development and the celebration of the self?
I think this is again a very tricky question, right? I think you put me on spot, right? But let me just answer this, right, in a very different way. So I'll translate this in English. See, I think when we were kids, right, and growing up, or when we speak to our grandparents, I come from a family where my grandparents were freedom fighter. My grandfather was a freedom fighter. My dad has been into social in a very, very long time, almost all of their life. And the belief was Neki kar and Darya mein dal, right? Yeah, if your left hand is doing good, right hand shouldn't know, right? I think that's a change has happened now with the millennials, Gen Z, including us, right? I think when you do good and we talk about it, there are two things happen. You spread good and more goodness can come from others. And the second is that you're also accountable because you're putting it out for people to scrutinize you. This was for individuals as well as for the organizations, right? Both. So I think, how many times you do a social post without actually doing good? Kabhi to, your friends will say, hey, what is this, man? You're trying to. So this will fizzle out. The concept of tourist, will fizzle out if you'd like to be tourist for your entire life, right? At some point of time, you have to transition to a traveler and a guide. Then only this volunteering journey will be meaningful, right? But if you're a tourist for a let's say couple of months or a year from now, I think you should be respectful and make them comfort, right? I mean, everybody has their own priorities. But when you actually see, it's not that people coming here for volunteering because of they need something. So probably I think mandating it at college will definitely make it a need, because they need it's like in a forced fit that I'm not interested, but still I have to do because I will have some grade, etc. So that is definitely a need attached to it, and that is a forced fit. But I think most of the corporate volunteers I have seen, they are not just volunteering because they want. They do because they have achieved something in their life. They have now a responsible career, job, and look at India. India is still 70%, in 65 to 70% live in smaller towns, villages, right? So I think when we have come up to this scale, I think a lot of people have actually helped us to reach where we are there. So these are in our back of our mind that the memories are there, that somebody told me, Abhishek, you should my granny said you should go to Delhi and study, and it turns out to be true. So a lot of people in our life has played a role and that's a composition of India versus probably a developed country, right? So I think it is ingrained in our in our DNA. Now once we so I think the race is that okay, get a job, but once the race is over, you look back, you reflect, and you want to do, and a large person does it. Now that happens at the age of 20, can happen at the age of 60. That's a variance, right? Even a corporate career. You see a lot of philanthropy happens when they reach to the highest, peak of their career. So and it's no wrong. I think once it's bundles with it's, say, if I'm giving something and without affecting the giving, if I'm getting something back and it's helping me, there's no wrong in it, right? And actually it will make it more sustainable, right? It will make it more sustainable, right?
Absolutely.
Long lasting, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the culture you have to, so that's a culture, right? We have to build. See, look at tech. I mean, I come from a technology industry, right? What is the mix I have? 80% of people, 90% of our people are BTechs and basically engineering graduates.
Mhm.
What they miss, they are great at technology. They are best at that, whatever they have studied. But probably they're not like an MBA student who will have probably communication skills, soft skills, other skills. When they do volunteering, they acquire it. Many of this MBA program, when they go, this volunteering get them to there, right? They, probably they score better than that, in terms of other engineers who probably doesn't have the softer aspects of it, right? So I think giving back and in return without thinking about return or without the intention of doing, volunteering has to be volunteer, not mandated, right? I know many MBA colleges where I teach have started mandating, including my college and other colleges. I have a mixed view to it, but I reserve that view. But in my sense, it has to be volunteering in nature.
Of course. No, thank you, Abhishek. Shalina, it's interesting. Abhishek's brought out so many different aspects and challenges as well. But, one thing that I have seen some of these platforms, and I experienced it myself when there was COVID-19, where I got to work with people from other countries to collaborate to move aid, move PPEs, medicines, oxygen concentrators, especially during the Delta wave. I had people helping us from France and China, for example. So, the role of transnational volunteering platforms, and therefore the role of platforms like the UNV in making more and more, why does it only happen during a disaster or a pandemic? Why can't it happen more regularly?
Thank you, Bhairavi. But if I may I would like to also touch upon the last question that you asked, Abhishek, if I may, because I also believe that actually I don't see a dichotomy. When you are helping somebody else in a very altruistic manner, without expecting return, but when you bring a smile on the face of somebody, or you have helped someone achieve something, the sense of happiness that it gives you, it's actually invaluable for you. So this is not something that you are doing for it, but because it comes to you, because you have helped someone, I think it gives you a lot. And this is what our volunteers, our United Nations volunteers, keep saying to us, that when they are interacting with communities, when they are interacting with the beneficiaries of these projects of the United Nations system, the sense that they have by seeing that they are making a positive impact in the life of someone, that in return is very precious for them. This is something that volunteerism give you. The second point, and I think it's very important in the world of the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the numbers floating of the number of jobs that will disappear, I think volunteerism also helps you to build skills, especially those soft skills. Abhishek mentioned a few. But exactly, teamwork, networking, communication, all of these are skill sets that will not in the near future, at least, be replaced by computers or robots. But these are skills that are actually really exacerbated through volunteerism. You learn this working with each other. And now jumping to your question, this is also what these exchanges, cultural exchanges and country experience from countries is really bringing. Like in the country where I am here in Thailand, there is a national program called TIKA, which is the Friends of TIKA, which is volunteers in other countries. So some Thai student will go to, let's say, Gabon, and they will help farmers there if this is their area of studies, and without knowing the language, but they will just learn and they will be in that society and they will give back. And that cross-cultural, that inter-generation as well, because now we are in an aging society as well. So you youngster work with more senior person. We have a lot of retiree volunteers, people who are 70 plus. I mean, our eldest, most senior volunteer is 78 years old. So you see, we do have, there is no age, as I stated in the beginning. So these cultural exchanges, these experience exchanges are very, very important. And I think India is also placing itself within the G20. India is also looking at how India can actually bring these experience, expertise that India has to other countries as well. And that is really how development works. That is how, as the UN, we see as one of the main advantage, because we have the benefit of having worked in different countries, different government, different societies, and bringing that experience. It's not that you just replicate, but at least by having these experiences in head, you can then come with solutions that are tailor-made to the specific context that you are working in. And I think COVID-19 pandemic really showcased in many, many countries, be it in Bangladesh, in Thailand, in India, in Lao PDR, the power of volunteerism and how people at from the community level to the national level, health worker, just from the great of their heart, help their neighbor, help other people to actually go and promote these messages of sanitation, hygiene, and what you should do, what you should not do. So this is really what we do. I mean, if you look at other examples, I mean, I have so many examples of volunteers, because we have in Asia Pacific, last year we had close to 1,900 United Nations volunteers. And in there, we had a big number of international volunteers. I mean, although in this region, we have a growing number of national volunteers because we have a lot of capacity in the different countries in Asia Pacific, but we still have international volunteer. And the principle behind international volunteerism is that you bring experience from another country and you bring it to that country. And this is really how we started back in 1970. I mean, we celebrated 50 years of UNV last year. And when we started in 1971, I mean, we just had people from the north going to the least developed countries, and it was really an exchange north to south. Now, if we look at the demography that we have within the United Nations volunteer system, we can see that we have a larger number, increasing number of volunteers from the south, because there is so much for them also to give back and to exchange. And this is really the whole purpose also of South-South collaboration, where we see that by bringing this expertise, you can really cross-fertilize and have an enriched experience and a solution to a problem.
Absolutely. You know, at the very early on when India at 75 started its volunteering work, there were corporates like IBM who were very kind to bring in their global teams through a pro bono experience, program for about a month at different locations to do programs with us. And, we learned a lot ourselves, but also it was wonderful to understand how sometimes people from other geographies also bring expertise into something else. And, Shankar, you've kind of probably seen this, not just in terms of geographies, but also in terms of cross-sectoral inputs, right? Like people who do not come from that sector bring a very different point of view to a challenge from a different sector. What has been your experience in that? Because, there are 39 different agendas and missions that you're working on, and I'm sure you see a lot of cross-pollination.
The certain challenges, if you see someone were before a couple of years, when the inclusive agenda was not that much popular, right? Someone bring up a exclusive issue that I'm going to work on LGBT related. How I can help them. So that was very new for us. We don't know how to do. So the experience, the availability of resources or non-profit working in this area was very, very limited. Now we have lots of social enterprise, lots of non-profit working in this area. We are also utilizing them now. Big changes there. But that was that time. But what I felt is this cross-pollination creates lots of bring to the table lots of societal issues which we have left out or which we need to be focused. For example, if you take people with disability, or if you take issues like one unique issue came up, and one of my volunteers wanted to contribute for children of migrant workers. So I thought, okay, we normalize it, right? It's children. So, okay, we will go and teach them. No, you cannot teach them because they're from a very different language. They don't know Tamil in Chennai. So when we went to that place, we started to dig up what's happening. I mean, the labor act, the challenges these people are facing, and the migrant workers are facing. And if you see, as per the law, if the children born to a migrant worker in a specific city, they cannot get a birth certificate. Maybe that should have changed now. That time, labor law experts shared us the challenges they're facing. So we started to work with them very closely. We brought up volunteers from Odisha, Andhra Pradesh to volunteer for that group. We created a team, and we also took the messages to the builders who are working, the construction workers, right? So when the certain builders were very open to us, like we will set up the exclusive school within the campus where we are building the project. So they did also. It also came in the media. We were not there. Actually, we don't want to put our volunteers or the company name there, but it was happening. So this cross-pollination brings lots of certain things which is neglected, which is we are not focusing. So there are thousands of ideas. So this, for example, like Yalina and Abhishek was mentioned, cross-country volunteering, right? I got so much experience of working. Like one volunteer from Netherlands came and told, I want to do something for India. I told what I was seeing there. I was seeing the beautiful place, the challenges which students are facing. I told, okay, we put up a Kids Connect program. We connected kids from both the country together. And when the kids started speaking, we brought our employees kids to speak. And our kids shared about the challenges we have here in our schools, especially rural government schools. And there what they did is, after a couple of days, they told me they have raised some funds for the school. How they raise their primary grade children, they put up an art fair in Netherlands school in Amsterdam. And they brought up all the people there and sold this art with the artifact which they created and raised the funds and gave that fund to the volunteer and told, go to India and do something there. It was 430 euros. That stays in my heart because it's a project which breaks all boundaries across the world, right? It creates a unity, a diversity or inclusion across. So cross-pollination or cross-country volunteering is amazing. I know my friend Sean Perry is traveling to 4 or 5 countries every year. It takes all that. He raises funds, he goes there and teaches children's life skills through dance. He has an amazing team here in India. He has taught in Bihar, he has taught in rural Tamil Nadu. That people are leprosy affected children. They are performing, they're earning some money now. So they get thousands of examples out there. And thankful that we are there in this sector, so we are knowing these things. So that was a request when I went on the final discussion which we had with the United Nations volunteering team. I told them, see how these stories can be brought in a portal. People can see anytime, get inspired. And thankfully, the Better India, your stories are doing such things now to get more grassroots stories put up to the social media. Thanks to social media also, because it is very, very, very important. Otherwise, I don't think this kind of level which we are discussing now should have happened so quick.
Of course. No, thank you, Shankar, for pointing that out. In fact, we are open now for audience questions. So as they come in, I will, of course, put them to you if they're specific to you or to the entire panel. But while that happens, I wanted to come to you, Aditya. Sometimes a young person is lost, is confused. They want to give time, but they think there are too many options, or they're not able to find an option. And sometimes they're not sure of the logistics, right? Do you think there needs to be more awareness or more kind of go-to toolkits? I see on social media that there is a lot of communication, but that communication isn't about, okay, today you got up and you want to give 5 hours of your day. Where do you go? And how do you start? So what's your view on that? I mean, you've done now this for 20 years, so you should be able to tell us a lot.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, these are all typical problems that an NGO which is trying to engage volunteers. But with volunteers, we just say simply that, we should get started, keep it simple, and, get started. I mean, just dip your foot in water and then come out and see if you want to, do a little bit more. So that way the journey progresses. Then a volunteer begins to pick up things. He starts developing qualities. He starts picking up things and picking up finer nuances of volunteering. And from there, she can decide that, yeah, I'm, meant to be a teacher, or, I have this passion of, planting trees or reaching out to people, communicating with people, and so on. Right. So at YFest, we have this, have this nature of welcoming all sorts of volunteers and allowing them to set their time and then take the journey forward. So that way we hold hands and walk together. So yes, as Abhishek has rightly pointed out, that we need to have systems where tourists can become travelers and travelers can become guides. That's a beautiful way of putting it, Abhishek. Thank you.
So there is a question.
Ravi, can I add to
Yes.
that? Sorry,
Please,
I have another very concrete proposal for those who want to become maybe even a tourist, a first-time tourist. And actually, you can do it from your home, because in the United Nations Volunteers Program, we have a website where you can also volunteer online. So not only we send on-site volunteers, but we can also have online volunteers. And that platform is also accessible to CSOs, UN agencies, of course, but government as well. So if somebody wants to maybe try their luck, if this is something that they would like to do, perhaps in a different fashion, you could become an online volunteer for a specific assignment within your domain of expertise, and just go on to www.unv.org. And many of our volunteers who are working in different countries with UN agencies also started as an online volunteer. So that was my little promotion for United Nations Volunteers.
Thank
Online
you,
volunteering.
Shalina. We have so the question that has come, and I will let any one of you answer. Maybe we'll start with you, Shankar. But how can we leverage the power of volunteering to fill the gap in the last mile public service delivery? So now we're talking about actually functions which are of the state, but what role can volunteers play to improve on that delivery? Shankar?
Is this question to me?
Yes. Yes.
I
thought
lost
we'll
you.
start
Can you
with
repeat me?
Yeah, basically the question is really that in the last mile delivery of public services, right, whether it's education, health, whatever have you, what role can volunteers play? Like, how can we bring power of volunteering to leverage in better delivery of last mile services in your experiences around?
See, this last mile delivery projects, if you see, if you take from a play school to, if you, in the education sector, I'm telling you, from the play school till the completion of the college, like the college mentoring, volunteering, which is happening now. There is a plethora of opportunities created for volunteers to contribute. It is not like before, like we don't like, now Shalina told there is a virtual volunteering opportunity possible. We are supporting people with conducting mock interview who are actually struggling in rural centers, especially working on vocational centers, to learn about how to crack an interview. It's not just about academic skills which we are embedding. We have a plethora of opportunities for connecting that. So we now have a solid structure or design, like nobody is left out. If they have specific issues on a specific focus areas, it may be healthcare or something like that. So if you take COVID as an example, I will tell you. And I was connected when the COVID pandemic was launched. Everyone were as a corporate, what we will think, how we can help others, right? Like Shalina mentioned, how everyone has started helping each other to do. But what kind of help? What is needed that time? Because we got a small WhatsApp message, that a 7-second message, a migrant worker telling that I have not taken any food for last 10 days. I'm hungry. That's all. It's heartbroken. So we identified where he is, how we can reach quickly, because with the non-connectivity of people coming out, it will be very solid. But the government, the civil society, as well as the corporate citizens were working together on solving this problem. And we ensured within an hour, not only food reached, but also groceries for next 2 months for him. So it is the power of connectivity, what is happening now. And another, I was connected with another collector from a rural district. He came up with a unique question. I want to know how many migrants want to stay here, how many want to go out. And I don't have, in my district, I don't have any people who speak Hindi, because all of them are Hindi speaking people. So we brought volunteers from Kochi, Mangalore, Mumbai, and Chennai to talk to these people in just 2 days. We covered around 3,400 people. 3,400 calls was done in 48 hours. And we brought up the Excel sheet, filled it up and gave them, so that they can quickly organize the trains to go, make them to go to home, or make arrangement to make them stay here in the refuge center. So the complete design of volunteering is many unique things are happening. Actually, the way we are connecting, the way we are designing the program, implementing and impacting. So we just sent out a art truck, and it goes to a village, stays there. It is done by Nalanda Way. It goes to a village, stays there for 5 days. And 5 days they create the emotional intelligent quotient of children through art, storytelling. And it is done in the open areas, not in classrooms. And they're forced to take pictures, take printouts, create stories. So that van has everything. It has a solar powered van. It has everything. We call it R20. So people are coming with beautiful ideas. So last mile deliveries, I don't see any challenges. What we want is how the right, and they were like Dr. Mail Sami, another director, when he visited our campus, what is the success of Chandrayaan? Right time, right distance, right speed. That is what we need to do. So if you have the problem, how it's coming, where we are connecting, and how it is getting solved quickly. That is the most important factors.
Okay, we're gonna run out of time very quickly. So before I wrap up, I just want to come to each one of you, and if there was one sentence, one mission, one motto, something, that one line that you could tell for people out there who want to volunteer, what would it be? Abhishek, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I think as I said, I think I was very clear. I think you are not helping others, but actually you are helping yourself by volunteering. So just go out, experience it. More you see on ground, more you will start liking it, right? So just be the tourist if you're a first timer. And I'm sure after few occasions, you'll start becoming traveler and a guide. Thank you.
Thanks. Shankar?
For me, the biggest message is make volunteering a happy factor. We should not get forced. When I started volunteering, people are telling what you are doing. I went to your school and I told I want to volunteer for your school and change it to the assistant headmaster. He saw me 2 times and told, please go away. So that time, nobody knows. Then I went to another school and the principal allowed me. And we brought a huge change in that school through volunteering, not because of me, but because of a group of volunteers. And that school saw first time 3-digit admission as a government school. People stopped putting in private school and came to this school. That's the power of volunteering. What happened was we left it to volunteer to decide the programs and just shaped up, the guided up. The school principal was amazing. She did that. She was a mentor for us. And she told where the guidelines. That is a very important factor. Make happy volunteering.
Great. Thank you. We'll make volunteering happy. Aditya, to you. You're on mute.
Sorry, but I would just say, just do it.
Just do it. All right. And Shalina.
Thank you. I think we live, unfortunately, in a world that is very difficult with lots of challenges, and these challenges will unfortunately only continue to come. So I can only encourage everyone to look around them, and they will find so many ways to volunteer. I think volunteerism should really become a part of everyone's life.
Right. No, thank you, all of you, for saying what you've said today. A lot of knowledge, a lot of inspiration. At India at 75, we've always believed that if you make volunteering easy, attractive, like you said, make it happy, make it accessible, make it more open, people will, do more and more of it. But also if you make it sociable, if you make it something that a lot of people can do together. And also, like you said, Shalina, a timely volunteering help can really change something significantly for a community that needs it. So thank you so much, all of you, for this wonderful chat today. We hope at India at 75 to continue to pursue this mission of volunteering and also work with all of you in building and continuing to augment volunteering, not just in India, but across the world. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Everybody, thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye.